Just watched Brawl in Cell Block 99. This is my review with plot spoilers. I spent almost 6 years in Arizona State Prison, so I'd like to give my perspective. I absolutely loved the movie. Vince Vaughn's best role ever. This guy is like a prison gladiator Terminator. Starts out with Vince losing his job, goes home early, finds out his wife cheated on him, decides to turn his life around by transporting drugs. Makes a load of money, gets a new house, wife is pregnant, things are going well, and then his drug lord boss tells him they're doing a deal with a cartel, Mexican cartel. Vince goes to meet the Mexicans. One of the guy is actively on heroin. Vince spots this and says he wants to pull out. This guy's a bust. It's going to end up in trouble. Doesn't want to work with him. His boss pulls him aside and says, this drug deal's so big, you either do it or you're fired. So, not wanting to give up his lifestyle, Vince reluctantly agrees to go through with this deal with the Mexican cartel guys. Now, does the deal. He's at this little area by the water, and on the way back they're walking along, and the Mexican guy that he doesn't like, the heroin user, punches him in the stomach, and those guys move ahead of Vince, and the police are there with like an ambush, and there's a shootout between the Mexicans and the police, and some of the police get injured. Now Vince at this point, because he's further back from the crime scene, he could have just got out of there, but for some reason he decided to back the police up and shoot the cartel guys. One of them dies, one of them ends up in prison, and you know, it was realistic up until this point that this guy is shrewd, street smart. He could tell the guy was on heroin, didn't want to do the deal. But now to actively go up against the cartel on behalf of the police just seems unrealistic to me, even though I do love the movie in its entirety. The cartels these days, they don't respect the old Italian mafia code where you didn't harm women or kids. The cartels these days will kill your entire family, your pet dog, and they will film it. I write about the Colombian cartels, and I've done a lot of research with the Mexican cartels as well. I actually had a relationship with the Mexicans when I was operating through Mexico with my drug business. So these guys, thoroughly ruthless, they'll wipe out your entire family. For Vince to jump in, back the police up against these guys, he knows what's going to come down the road. He should have just got away from that crime scene, but then we would never have had such a good prison movie. So Vince ends up arrested. He gets, I don't know, something like a 6 or 7 year sentence. And his counsellor in the prison says to him, you know, we've had a call from your wife's doctor. There's something wrong with the pregnancy, and the doctor's on the way to visit you. So Vince is crapping it then, and the guy comes to visit, and it's not a doctor, it's a representative from the cartel. This guy pulls out his cell phone, and they got a video of his wife. She's been kidnapped, she's all tied up, she's pregnant, and basically if Vince doesn't repay his debt to the cartel, they're gonna torture her, they're gonna do an abortion that might keep the baby alive, but the baby's limbs would be removed, or the baby might just die. So this absolutely disgusting outcome is hanging over him now, and they say to him, we lost over $1 million in the drug deal, we lost one of our guys, you know, you owe us. And he's like, well, I can't pay you, I've got no money. So he says, that's okay, we need you to whack this guy in prison, we want you to kill this guy. And this guy's in a much higher security prison. So Vince agrees to do the hit, and he goes on the absolute rampage. To get moved up to higher security levels, he breaks a guard's arm, he's getting in fights. When he gets to the new yard, there's a bunch of dudes working out, and he reckons that the guy he's got to whack is in this lockdown area. So to get in the lockdown area, he's got to do more crazy stuff. So he just goes up all psychotic to these guys who are working out, starts a fight with them. And then he ends up in the block where he thinks the man is living that he has to eliminate for the cartel. Now, unfortunately, the cartel have completely tricked him. One of the cartel leaders is in this block with his crew, and they're running the place. They're basically telling the guards what to do, and they bring Vince, the guards bring Vince into this room where the cartel guys start to torture him, slowly leading up to they're going to kill him for intervening on that day in the drug deal with the cops. So Vince now clocks what's happened, and he decides to fight back. And if you don't think that the gangs can be running these prisons, I was housed in a building where the Italian mafia were running the building, and they were telling the guards what to do. If you wanted to have someone, a new cellmate, or be moved out your cell, you went to the head of the Italian mafia. He told the guards, move this guy here, move this guy there. The head of the Italian mafia, his girlfriend was coming dressed as a lawyer, and he was having private visits with her in a little legal visit room and receiving oral sex from her. And then at night, when all the prisons were locked down, the head of the Italian mafia was outside of the building, stood there with the guards, smoking. So if you've got the power and the money to throw around a prison, like the cartel does, then you can start running the place and telling the guards what to do. So that is completely realistic about this movie, that the cartel, because they have so much money these days. The Mexican cartels, they're worth more than small countries. They're multi-billion-dollar enterprises. They're telling the guards what to do. So Vince goes Terminator, starts fighting back. They've got this like electric shock pouch on him, where when they press the button he's in agony, and he figures out a way around to stop the shocks from hurting him. He puts some rubber down there and pretends that it's still hurting him, but then he uses that to fight back against the guards, to fight back against the cartel guys. The level of violence in this thing, we're talking arms getting snapped off, decapitations. I mean, he's taking it to the max. He knows he's not going to get out. He's sacrificing his life. Just like in Shot Caller, really. If you watch Shot Caller, the protagonist was blackmailed because of his family. In this case, Vince, he wants to get to the head guy, kills his guys in front of him, and he says to the head guy, make that phone call now, release my wife to my buddy, and that's what you're going to do. And the guy's so scared he ends up doing it. Vince kills all the guys anyway, and then the evil warden at the end shoots Vince. And compared to Shot Caller, this movie is centered in the old style, last century kind of prison, where they have these deep, dark dungeons and lockdowns. It's called going to the hole. If you do something bad, they send you to the hole. I had a prisoner cellmate out of Texas. He'd been arrested over 100 times, done time in Arizona, time in Texas. And he said back in the day in Texas, they had these dark holes like coffins. If you refused to work, they just slid you into this dark hole in a wall like a coffin, and you had to piss and shit where you lay, and it was all full of insects and that kind of things. So compared to Shot Caller, which is like the modern, you know, this century kind of prison with controlled movement, with the cameras everywhere. Brawl in Cell Block 99 is a good contrast. That it shows one of these old, dark, Shawshanky type prisons. So all in all, I loved the action in it. Thought they captured the drama really well, the environment of the prison really well, the old style prison. Other than, you know, the fact that I don't think he would have intervened in the shootout with the cops. He could have walked away scot-free. Other than that, I thought it was an absolutely fantastic movie, and Vince Vaughn should win some kind of award for it. Thanks for watching this review. Cheers from London.